Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about the transfer portal absolutely exploded over the last couple of days, and have to imagine there's a couple of twists and turns left for us throughout the next couple of days. But to finish this off, let's get into a couple of roadblocks for those teams in the semifinal to a possible national title. What could get in their way? And there's quite a few things that could get in their way in a number of different ways, but I broke it down into two different things for all of these teams, and I think the biggest one is, at least for this particular team, Penn State needs outside playmaking so bad in the next couple of games. And it's not necessarily just because, that run game is very, plain. I don't want to say plain. They do a great job of changing up different looks and making it very, very tough on defenses. But the reality is, if those two guys get the rock every single time, you're going to have a tough time moving the ball on any of these defenses. And on top of that, these DBs, these secondaries, are as good as you will find across the country. I would probably rank them 1, 2, and 3 between Ohio State, Texas, and Notre Dame. So you look at these guys, it's just ridiculous what they're capable of on the outside, and Penn State needs it. They need Omari Evans. They need Harrison Wallace. They need Tyler Warren will take some pressure off. These running backs will take some pressure off catching the ball out of the backfield. But overall, you got to open windows for those guys. Against a team like Notre Dame, against a team like Texas or Ohio State, you cannot live if you cannot spread that defense out a little bit, if you cannot force them to think about those deep balls, force them to think about your wide receivers, and if you can't do that, they're going to be able to key in on the run, and it's going to look like a really ugly offensive performance for Penn State. I think they have enough guys to make this happen. I think they have the quarterback to make this happen, but the reality is you can't make a couple of plays on the outside throughout these next couple of games. It's going to get really ugly in a hurry. The other part I'm worried about that I don't even know if I should be worried about it. I'll be totally honest with you, but the back end defense is something that I've been watching for Penn State, and every time that I watch them, they'll play great football for one game, and then they'll play terrible football the next. I'll see Oregon throw for 300 yards. I'll see Ohio State not necessarily tear them to pieces by any respect, but make a number of plays throughout that game through the air. I saw USC just take advantage of them in a number of different ways, and that is Lincoln Riley, a little bit different there, but the reality is, you're about to face some of the most elite talents that you have seen on a football field in your entire career for all of these players. And especially if you get to a national title, you got Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate running wild. And then on the other flip side of that, you have Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond and Silas Bolden running wild. So you have problems on your hands. You're going to have more on your hands than you've had really since that USC game where it did not look all that pretty, really since that Oregon game when it didn't look all that pretty. So it's going to be a battle, and it's definitely a group that I think is uber talented. There's been moments this year where I've been very worried about what they can do on the back end, and I think it could come back to bite them in the next couple of games. For Notre Dame, the lack of explosive pass plays is a huge part of this. There's no doubt about that. They've been able to get, that 98-yard run from Jeremiah Smith helped them out quite a bit, but the reality is when you look at this team and when you look at what they need to do over the next little bit, everyone knows what this offense is at this point. Notre Dame knows that everyone knows it. They just don't care because they're incredibly good at running it. But the reality is you're going to get a little bit more of a challenge this time around. You're going to have Abdul Carter. You're going to have Vanover. You're going to have Zane Duran and Danny Dennis Sutton and all of these guys that are going to be all over you from start to finish in this game. Your running back will not have as much room as they did against Georgia. They will definitely not have as much room as they did against Indiana. You will have to be able to find margins, and sometimes those margins are just that one big play. The reality of this situation is because that run game is so diverse, because they have three guys they feel confident running the football, and because they have a play caller that I have all the trust in the world in Mike Denbrock, it's not necessarily that big of a worry to hit 10 of these or to hit 5 of these or be all over the place throwing the ball downfield. You just got to hit one. You just got to make that defense respect that guy over top one time. So I haven't seen Notre Dame do it yet. Maybe this is the moment. Maybe you just release Jordan Faison on a straight go route and just say, we're going to throw it up and we're going to see what happens. Even if it's incomplete, then you're looking at all the DBs are looking just a little bit more nervous. They're standing 1 or 2 yards just a little bit deeper, and then you maybe have the openings in the run game that you very much need. And then the absence of Riley Mills. I mean, this is huge. There's really no other way to put it. This is a guy that obviously didn't show up again in the UGA game nearly as much as I thought it would. You're going to be facing some really good offensive linemen going forward and some guys that have all the experience in the world getting run push. All these guys are going to be very, very aggressive at the point of attack, and they will continue to attack that interior. I can promise you that. They will continue to attack where number 99 would be. they'll see if they'll have some success. And frankly, I think it's one of those things where all those guys were really amped up, knew they had to step up for Riley Mills in that moment. Can they keep that up against a team like Penn State and then possibly an Ohio State or Texas that loves to stretch the field? It's going to make it that much harder for that interior front. Then you got red zone offense for Texas. It's been bad, plain and simple. It's been downright terrible for this team really throughout this year, but especially in the back half of this year has been downright terrible, and they got to get back on the right track. You're not going to beat Ohio State with threes. Frankly, you might not even beat them with seven. So you're going to have to get sevens. Just hope that you can find a way to get in the end zone. So that comes down to the run game. Maybe some special packages with Arch Manning and a couple of different guys. I saw one of the guys I interact with on the Texas Twitter space was Arch Manning and Jarrett Gibson. Put them out there and just pound the rock for 3 yards on a 4th and 3. But at the end of the day, it's going to be awesome to watch what they do in this one. And Steve Sarkisian has been known to, at the right moments, dial up the right things. He's going to have to do it in the red zone in the next couple of games, especially on Friday. And then the reliance on Quinn Ewers. This is something that I've kind of noticed throughout the last little bit is Quinn Ewers has not played great football this year. He's made a number of different mistakes, some on him, some not quite on him, a couple of different boneheaded mistakes, a couple of just outright misses on passes that he probably should make. I totally understand he's a very divisive quarterback. You look back at a couple of the games this year, it was all Quinn Ewers and no one else. No one else was helping him out. The run game was very, very rough. There was not nearly as much separation as you would like for there to be, and there was guys breathing down his neck every single time he snapped the ball. So you got to make sure you take it a little bit off number 3's shoulders. He's a very talented quarterback. He is not carrying you to a win over Ohio State. I can absolutely promise you that. He is not making throw after throw into very tight windows against Ohio State without that one mistake popping up. That's just the reality of this game. It's the reality of playing Ohio State at this very moment. So overall, you got to make sure you keep Quinn Ewers just in a good spot. Make sure you can run the football. Make sure you can get the ball out of his hands relatively quickly so this pass rush isn't a huge factor, and make sure that he can make the plays that he just gonna have to make. He's someone that is such a rhythm thrower, is such a confidence level thrower that if they're in front of the chains, if they're moving the football with the run game, he's gonna feel more confident to throw the ball around, and then he can become one of the most lethal quarterbacks in the entire country. And then you got Ohio State, and I've talked about this a lot, and I apologize for bringing it up again, but the reality is I have to worry about this every single time that Ohio State gets on the field for the rest of the time that Ryan Day is there. Plain and simple. You cannot play it safe in this game. Do not hold any of your bullets. Do not hold anything back in this game, because I get it. You're a 6-point favorite. Everyone loves you now. You're actually minus money against the rest of the field to win a national title. So you are the team. There's no doubt about that. Everyone is pointing to Ohio State and saying, if they don't win this, then it's an absolute failure. It's been the case since the beginning of the year. It will be the case if they lose this game this Saturday or this Friday. And the big question here is, can they keep that fastball going? Can they just keep absolutely throwing heat over and over and over again? And that heat is throw the ball up to Jeremiah Smith and let him make some plays. Throw the ball to Emeka Egbuka and let him make some plays. Let those running backs get on the outside and just do absolute damage. A lot of different things that can happen throughout this next little bit. But it comes down to Ryan Day, it comes down to Chip Kelly, it comes down to Jim Knowles, and just letting their guys literally let them out of the pen, let them loose. That's the reality of this team. That is how good this team is. That the best way you can play is play loose, play free, and just let them fly around and make plays. They will fly around and make plays. I can promise you that. And then the other one is a little bit more technical. The cornerbacks for Ohio State against speed is a problem, and it has been a problem really all year. Oregon didn't quite get to go after that quite as much as they would have loved to in the Rose Bowl because Ohio State jumped all over them, and it was an absolute nightmare to find their way back into that one. But the cornerbacks, against the talent that Texas has on the outside, especially the speed talent they have, it could become a problem. We've seen Davison Igbinosun hold on to people just a little bit because he got beat. We've seen Denzel Burke have one of the worst games he's had in his career against Tez Johnson earlier this year. There's going to be a moment on Friday where someone's going to get beat, where a Texas receiver is going to be behind this defense, and if Quinn Ewers can hit that pass, it's going to change this game entirely. So that's the one thing, a little bit more technical on that one than anything else. But man, this is a player, this is a back end that is so talented, that is so incredible. But those one-on-one matchups against Denzel Burke or Davison Igbinosun against speed on the outside for Texas could be all the difference in this game. But obviously something that we'll see unfold in the next couple of days, and we'll see what happens with all of that unfolding. But We will do a little bit of a wrap up tomorrow on all these games. We'll do injury, weather updates from Dallas. Definitely something to be on the lookout for, but make sure that you're fully ready to roll. I will say on Friday, it sounds like there is going to be a winter storm rolling through Thursday night into Friday morning. Could knock out my power. Obviously, something that I'm hoping doesn't happen. Hoping I'm right here reviewing that Orange Bowl for you guys on Friday. But wanted to make sure I got that out there in the world before we got out of this show, because could be it could be a little bit different of a schedule than I was planning. If we have no problems, you will see me here on Friday reviewing the Orange Bowl, getting into all that. If not, then we'll do some final touches on all of that stuff when we get into Monday. So a lot of different things that could happen. We'll keep you updated. Maybe tomorrow I'll know a little bit more. Probably won't know until I wake up on Friday, frankly. If I have power or if I don't, we'll make sure that we relay that information as needed, and one way or the other. We will be reviewing these things on Friday for the Orange Bowl or on Monday for both these games. So no worries there. We will get you all the review you possibly need, but definitely going to be a very interesting next couple of days, and just strap it and enjoy it. But thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC podcast. Excuse me. Thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all the social pages for all the content and updates you could possibly need. We have great people covering every single sport you could want. So anything in the world of sports you need, we have you totally covered over here at GSMC. But thank you once again for listening. We will be back tomorrow to do some grandiose stuff. I want to talk about a little bit of that Rose Bowl in the national title conversation, talk about what the reaction would be from both these fan bases, they win or lose this weekend. A lot of different things coming for you tomorrow. So we'll be back here tomorrow at 9 a.m., maybe back here on Friday, and we'll talk about that tomorrow as well.